Hello and welcome to Hobby Homies. We are your weekly war game and board game podcast. I'm Shane, hanging out with Fox.
Howdy. Ohayou gozaimasu. Watashi wa Michael desu. Fox desu.
What language next week?
Who knows?
That's Japanese, right?
Who knows?
Relevant because of the Olympics.
Yes.
Which I'm not watching.
And our latest giveaway.
Oh, of course. And their giveaway.
Yeah. This episode's going to be about none of those things.
No.
3D printing, in
3D
fact.
printing. Bit of a different one. Well, I mean, one we haven't spoken about, really.
Not really.
Not in detail.
And it warrants an episode because it's such a big part of the hobby as it stands at the moment. So we'll talk about all that, the implications of 3D printing in the hobby, pros and cons of it, different types, all that kind of general stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Whilst having a beverage and chilling out mostly. We got some new fandangled tech in the studio that we're very keen to play around with.
Spent the better part of 3 hours playing with it.
We're a little late on this one. We also have new merch. So jump on hobbyhomies.com, click the merch button, suss that out. There's more coming to the store soon, but we've got a dope beers and banter tee. We've got a bunch of giveaways, painting competitions, painting challenges.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about afterwards.
That's happening in the Discord too, so.
Yeah, it is. It's all popping.
Yeah. So when I think of 3D printing,
tell me.
First thing I think of is the old school home cheapos where it's just like it's a filament, it's an FDM printer.
Yeah.
But I've played with a 3D printer, nothing quite like what you have, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But so filament and resin are your two main types.
They are. I'm throwing back, and what's my first thing that I think of when I think of 3D printing is there's a scene from, I want to say, is it the first Jurassic Park? Or maybe it's the third. It's Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah,
which is equally as good as the first. Controversial, I know, but we'll get into that some other time. And at the start, he 3D prints with this old, massive 3D printer. And it is old. It's dated because it's from, 20 years ago or whatever, when that movie came out.
Yeah.
And he prints the chamber, the vocal chamber of a velociraptor.
Oh yeah, and he blows through it. And it sounds,
and it gives everyone PTSD that was in the first Jurassic Park or the second or whatever.
Yeah,
literally everyone.
Yeah.
So and then they use that later on, and that's the first thing I think of. So we've come a long ways since then.
We've got things now which aren't in a sci-fi movie. It's just sitting in your garage or on your desk at home.
Yeah. Like you mentioned though, the two different types.
Yep.
FDM.
Yep, which is a filament printer, which uses, I can only describe as whippersnipper cord.
Yeah, that's great. It is a big spool of plastic spaghetti.
Yeah, plastic spaghetti.
That's what that's what mine looks like.
Yeah, after a failed print.
How would you explain? Sometimes during, that then later turns into failed.
Yeah.
How would you explain the process of a filament printer?
Okay, so that big roll of plastic spaghetti goes through a nozzle, a heated nozzle, which then ejects it, squirts it out onto a heated bed, basically a heated plate. And this nozzle moves in an X and a Y axis.
Okay.
And prints.
And that's the episode.
I can't explain it.
No, that is a good explanation, dude. It does. It builds it layer by layer.
Layer by layer, yeah.
So it prints this very fine, point whatever of a millimeter layer.
Yeah.
And then it moves up a layer.
Yeah.
And prints another layer of that melted plastic on top of that.
And each layer can be as low as 0.1 of a millimeter.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I can go down to 0.8. 0.08.
Yeah,
maybe even more. I don't even know. I haven't really flexed it down there.
Yeah.
No need. Because as you can imagine, the smaller the layers that you do in height, the more layers you have to print to get to the same height.
So it takes that much longer time.
Yes.
I got there.
Many moon extra. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It does.
As you can tell, we're back in the hobby corner, so this one's a bit of a loose one.
Oh, it is a hobby corner. Man, we haven't done a hobby corner in forever.
It's been a minute.
It has been a minute. Precisely 1 minute. Which is not how long my prints take, but we'll get into that.
Hours. Days.
Days. Literal days.
Yeah. So filament printers, they use a plastic spaghetti, which gets ejected through a little hot nozzle.
Yep.
The other kind is resin printers.
Yeah. Resin printers are, a similar technology in the sense that they print layer by layer, but they do it in a completely different way.
Yep.
So they have instead of printing the extruder layer by layer down onto the model and building it up that way, they actually have a bed of liquid and a plate over the top of that, and they heat the bed up with a laser.
Oh, right.
Actual lasers.
Wow,
lasers. Kinda.
And it prints upside down, yeah?
Correct. So they actually heat they draw a picture of a border on that plate, heat that border up, and that's the layer that it cures in that bed.
Okay.
And so then they lift it up X millimeters.
Yeah.
And so now they're printing it underneath, so to speak.
Yeah.
Bottom to top, and pulling it out of this bed of resin, liquid resin.
Wow.
Curing it layer by layer that way.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain. I mean, go watch some videos. It's really fascinating, the two different ways that these printers do their thing.
It's basically sorcery.
Yeah, it's black magic.
Yeah.
In fact, just before this episode, for some extra information on resin printing, I hit up our resident resin printer, our resident printer, Lethal from the Goblins Forge.
Yep.
And he said it's basically black magic.
Okay. So
he's a professional. Yeah, exactly. He's literally a professional with professional prints.
I don't know how it works. It just does
black magic. So, yeah. Filament printing, easy to understand for our smooth brains. Resin, black magic sorcery. What would you say? We have both. We'll preface this by saying we have both used filament printers reasonably extensively.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But both two different types. I think you got a cheapie secondhand from a mate.
I got okay. So, a mate of mine, good mate, Rory, he's in Discord. He bought a printer for about $400, maybe $350, something like that.
Okay,
right?
Good printer.
Somewhat reasonably.
Yep.
I got that bad boy for $50 because he upgraded.
Yeah, okay.
So
that's also how much of a homie Rory
of course.
is.
Yeah.
Mates rates.
Yeah. But I didn't know what I was doing, so I just set this thing, plugged it in.
Yeah.
Plug and play, right?
Sure.
Didn't do nothing. It was an old school one, like it didn't have any like auto leveling stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I had to like manually adjust the bed.
Yeah.
To get it level using a bit of paper and all that sort of bullshit.
Yeah.
So I fucked around with it, trying just prints. Like I didn't try and like, slice any of my own prints or anything like that. Like I didn't try and edit anything.
Yeah.
I just took the file from the interwebs.
Yeah.
Put it on an SD card.
Yeah.
And then put it in the printer.
And said go.
Go.
Yeah.
And it did, for the most part. It did.
Yeah.
And that sucker was working round the clock. Right? Yeah. I had this thing going. I go to bed. I turn it on. I wake up. I turn it, finish that. Put another one on. Go to work. Whatever, right?
Yeah.
Didn't last long.
Tell me the story of its inevitable undoing.
Okay,
please tell me. So you had this thing going around the clock. How many weeks do you reckon you printed?
Oh, it wasn't weeks. Weeks. Days, probably.
Oh, shit.
But I'm talking non-stop.
Yeah.
The longest it was stopping was for half an hour while I scraped off the model off the bed.
Yeah.
And got it ready for another one, right?
Yeah.
Multiple times I ran out of filament, half print, and all this sort of shit.
Okay. You had the full experience, it sounds like.
Yeah. This thing could tell me how much filament it was going to use.
Yeah.
But I just didn't. I don't know. Just
you also don't know. That's something I've found with let's get back to your story. Let's put a pin in it for a sec, because it's a good opportunity to kind of talk about the software involved for filament printing anyways.
Yeah.
You mentioned slicing. It uses this software where you basically grab your file, which some genius on the interwebs has usually made.
Oh, some incredible designer.
Yeah.
Has spent hundreds of hours making some of these things.
Literally. Some of them are insane.
Yeah.
And I do want to talk about the complexity of that later if we get to it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you can design your own stuff.
Yeah.
You can go to Tinkercad.com, which is a web-based program where you can just drag and drop sort of shapes, put it together and design really basic parts. And then it's really cool, the idea you make something with squares and cubes or whatever you like.
Yep.
And then print that on your printer.
Yep.
And you've got something that you created in every step of the way.
Yeah. It's gone from ones and zeros to something you can pick up.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to program it with binary, but yeah, it bitches. But yeah, the premise is the same. You turned it from data to object.
Object, yeah.
Physical object.
Physical object.
You took it from the warp and the immaterium to real space.
To the materium.
To the materium.
Yeah.
Exactly. Sorcery.
Black magic.
But so there's a myriad of different programs. You take this 3D file, you drop it in there.
Yeah.
And from there, you adjust the detail that you want.
Yeah.
How many layers you want per mil. You know, do you want 0.1 mil layers? Do you want 0.2? Et cetera, et cetera. How much infill do you want? So how solid?
Yeah, I remember the infill thing because I printed something with like really low infill.
Yeah.
And like it was flimsy as fuck.
Exactly.
Like, I could like twist it and snap it.
Yeah.
You know, and then I printed something which was with like, I don't know, like 60% infill or something like that. And this thing was solid.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like there's different types of patterns now. And the way it prints the infill, you know, it doesn't just do a solid block.
Yeah.
It does shapes, geometric shapes.
Which are like designed to be as strong as they can.
Yeah.
When I was doing it, like the hexagonal one was like the strongest.
Yeah.
And now it's like all some kind of like weird modern art looking.
It's the gyroid, which is what I use.
Gyration.
Nope.
Yeah.
But it can survive a good gyration. It's like, it's crazy because I was reading how if you pick this gyroid as someone that was really trying to test like what I could get away with.
Yeah.
It was like a 5% infill, which is nothing, with gyroid, is as good as like the hexagonal, like a 50% infill.
Wow.
So it's that much stronger, uses that much less material.
That much less. Yeah, yep.
So it's just an example of how much technology has come from when you had your even your $400 printer. That's what it was worth.
Yeah, yeah.
To probably 5 years later when I got my $500 printer.
Would have been like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So yours was, you know, only $100 more.
Yeah.
You know, and can do leaps and bounds above what this little thing could.
And that's probably something that we'll talk about, the technology and how much it's grown in a moment. I don't want to quite get there yet. I want to hear about
the death.
Because you've put your things into this program that slices it. You choose, and basically from there you pick the speed of the print. Do you want it to be going? In which case it gets like that. Sorry for those who are listening. That's the speed of the nozzle moving around the thing, printing the layers. Because the faster you go, the more chance of a stuff up or losing detail. So, for example, I'm printing as slow as I can with the smallest layer lines.
To get the finest and cleanest.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the faster you go and the higher you go, the messier and that it gets.
Less detail,
yeah. So I would print things relatively slow.
Yeah.
At I think I would do like 1.5 mil or something like that.
0.15.
Sorry, 0.15.
Yeah. Yeah.
So pretty small.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
You know?
Yeah.
And like for the most part, it did some pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
I always had issues with stringing.
Okay.
So like the nozzle would like spider web between like where it would stop and then start again.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not telling you because you obviously know, but the listeners might not
I actually have never had that. So.
Oh, man, because you got a $500 printer.
It was actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it was actually only 420 blazes. So
sure.
It was 500 but once I bought 2 spools. But yeah, anyways.
Of course.
Yeah.
Anyway, so like that, when I finished those prints, there was a lot of cleanup, stuff like that.
Sure.
Like trying to clip it and clean it all up.
Okay.
But I had this sucker going round the clock.
Yeah.
Right.
For only days, you're saying?
Yeah. And like, I later found out what the issue was. But anyway, so I'm printing and I'm like, so the printer was actually in this room we're in now, right?
Oh, wow.
Set up on this very table.
In the studio?
In the studio, before there was a studio.
Yep.
And I'm just downstairs and I'm sitting there and like...
From downstairs?
Oh,
like, God.
I'm just like, what is that?
Oh,
and then immediately I'm like, well, it's got to be the only thing that's you look at all your variables in the house. It's like, what's changed? It's like,
what's electronic? And what is currently going?
Yeah.
Upstairs.
The printer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I came running upstairs, and as I get closer, the smell just gets stronger and stronger of burning, right? And I'm like, the door, I can't remember if the door was open or shut, but I'm like waiting to see flames.
Yeah.
Didn't, luckily.
Okay. It was
no flames.
It was an invisible fire.
It was, but it was smoke.
Oh, God.
I could see the smoke. And you know what they say? When there's smoke, there's fire.
They do say that.
Yeah.
But there was no fire.
That, but there was there was no visible fire, right? So I like unplugged this fucking thing and carried it downstairs and like put it in the garage.
Yeah.
Because I was like, if anywhere it's going to catch on fire, at least the ground there is concrete, not carpet, right?
Yeah.
So took it down there, and then it took days to get the smell out of the house.
Oh my God.
Kaylin wasn't happy.
Yeah. No one would be. I'm not happy.
And like, but I was just like I said, I had it going from when I went to bed, I'd set a print.
Yeah.
And then when I got up, I'd clean that print off and set another one.
Yeah.
And I was only printing these like little walls, like
wow.
modular wall things, right, that I wanted to make for terrain. And I don't even know. I can't remember. They took a while. Like they took for such a small little piece. It was probably, oh man, I'm going to say 100 mil high and 50 mil wide, right? It wasn't.
Okay.
It wasn't
small.
Big. It was small. It was small.
Half the size of a wallet.
Yeah, pretty much. Like
Yeah.
look at your phone, half the size of that, maybe even like small.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, fuck, like these things are taking hours.
Yeah,
Hence the reason why before I go to bed and when I go to work.
Yeah.
And I'm just glad that I was home that day.
Yeah, legit.
I don't know what would happen. Anyway.
Wow.
And yeah, it turns out there's like a connector inside the actual printer that is prone to melting.
Right.
And like I could take it out, resolder it and put it together again and it would be fine.
Okay. That's a bit of work though.
It is, yeah, and I'm not really game on it.
Yeah.
because like I don't want to burn my fucking house down.
Yeah, again.
Yeah.
This is the second time he's moved house. This is we rebuilt the studio.
Yeah. I printed quite a few pieces.
Sure.
Like I said, probably a week it was going for, I reckon.
Yeah.
Like just around the clock.
Yeah.
Doing this shit. Sometimes like I get home from work, do it, and then it'll be finished by the time I go to bed.
Yeah.
So I guess there was like times of inactivity, but not real much, not much.
Yeah.
So
your horror story led me to want to leave gaps of time between my prints, but I never did. I was, I think, 2 parts curious.
Yeah.
And 1 part curious. Can I burn my house down? What would the fire look like? So you raise a good point.
Will my insurance pay me out?
Yeah. Is this covered in mayhem or is this an act of God? Yeah. Yeah. But you raise an interesting point because you basically just said like a horrible experience with a 3D printer. So maybe let's go into the pros and cons of resin printing and filament printing.
Yeah.
Obviously, a pretty big con is you could burn your entire house down. So I'll put that on the cons list for filament printing. So you and I both only ever done filament printing.
Yes.
We can only really speak anecdotally on that.
That's right.
But we have got some information from a professional resin printer that we'll relay to you guys.
Yeah.
So let's start off with the cons of filament printing. Possible hardware faults.
Yep.
But the
overheating.
thing is, I mean, it feels overheating. I wonder if
ignition.
Yeah, because like for example, to contrast your experience, when I first got mine, same thing, plug and play, had to build it from scratch using wood and wire, soldering. No, they give it to you in a box and you just kind of got to build the whole thing.
There is a bit of putting together.
Yeah, there is.
I was lucky because Rory had used this printer for ages and he'd printed some pretty good stuff. But Rory's talented no matter what he does.
Yeah, he's one of those fuckers that just touches anything. It's like, oh, how do you use this? I remember he was like, oh, I got this Superman, I got this airbrush. And he messaged me, he was like, how do I use this stuff? And I sort of gave him a little rundown. And I literally cannot take any credit because the next time he shows me this immaculately airbrushed, skin-toned Superman with like different tones to it. And I was like...
Yeah, Rory's a fuck.
Fuck you, man. Are you just baiting me with this? How do I use this? Literally just picks up an airbrush and a model. He's like, does it go like this? What's a golden demon and why did I win it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, so...
what was the point of the conversation? Yeah,
I can't remember.
The contrast to your story.
Yeah. So Rory was printing this great stuff. I had failed prints and bird nests and fucking everything, right?
And burnt nests.
Yeah. Like I remember coming down one stairs and my printer is just going like bzz, 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 doing its thing, right?
But nothing. It's not spitting anything out and it's off the plate.
And it's like this high. Like it's like almost at the top and it's still doing this. And I'm like, what are you doing?
I've seen that before, and it's the same feeling as when I sort of just like almost forget that I have a son for a moment, and I just like let him play in his own little area.
Yeah.
And I come back and he's just doing some weird shit that's not hurting anyone.
He's got like a fork and a PowerPoint.
No, it's like he's just got like he's flipped over his bike and he's like stacking books on top of it. And you're like, why are you doing what you're doing? I mean, it's fine.
Yeah,
it's not impacting anyone, but why?
Yeah.
It's that same feeling when you see a 3D printer going, zzz, 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 not printing anything, not touching the plate.
It's like it thinks it's doing it. It's like I'm a good printer. You know, I'm doing my job.
Yeah, I was programmed to print, and I am printing. Owner is happy. And that's like when I see my son stacking the books, it's like, I'm stacking. I've never done this before.
I'm stacking books on top of my upside down bike.
Yeah. I ain't never seen, I'm Picasso.
Yeah.
I ain't never seen someone do this. So it's that same feeling. So that's a pro. The adorable moment when you realize we don't have to worry about machines taking over the universe anytime soon.
Because they still don't know what
they'll be programmed to kill us and they'll just be walking into a wall. You'll be like, oh, you adorable little fucker.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's a pro.
That's a pro. They won't kill you.
They won't
while
kill
you
you.
Sleep.
No.
They'll just continue to print with no
ghost
filament.
printing.
Yeah. Pros is the fact that...
Like, I wasn't done with the cons.
Oh.
I wanted to contrast your
Go
con.
for cons. Go do it.
With my pro, actually.
Oh, okay.
So, no, wait. The con was these things usually come unassembled.
Yeah.
And there is usually a solid hour plus of building. Like, it's not just building.
Oh, man, this is like... You need a diagram. You need like an engineering certificate to build some of these things.
They're fully required to put wires around
Yeah.
and level belts
Yeah.
and tension up belts.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the smooth brain like me was able to do it in an hour and a half. So it's doable.
Yeah.
I should be an inspiration if people are like, oh, Fox did it. Take me half an hour.
15
do it in my
minutes.
sleep. Yeah.
With a 5-minute coffee break.
Yeah. And a 5-minute like YouTube video watch. Yeah. So it takes a bit, and then you calibrate it and you level the bed, which is usually on most printers manual still.
Yeah.
So that's something that comes up. So the con, you receive this item, you're super excited to use it. It's hours before you're doing your first print.
Yeah.
And even on your first print, you're just like, oh, well, the test print's going to take me 3 hours, so guess I'll find out and then you do your first proper print, which is usually something substantial.
Yep.
And that's another con of filament printing is the time.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest ones.
I would imagine that would be the same with resin printing, though. Probably a big time sink initially before you get going.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But I'm talking about during the prints as well.
Okay. Yeah.
And I know a lot of the resin printing, it comes in the box.
Okay.
And the resin printer is assembled fully.
Yeah.
You just need to put in like the bed, fill it up with resin, plug it in, and do some tests.
Okay. Yeah.
It's much you're printing your stuff much quicker than you are.
Yeah.
It's almost out the box, ready to go.
Yeah.
So whereas the actual prints themselves, that's I guess another contrast we can sort of hold up against each other.
Yeah.
Filament prints take a much longer time than resin printing.
Yeah.
So I may print most of my prints, which all have a similar kind of size or solidity to them.
Yep.
They're quite big. They're usually, if you were to make a beer bottle as like a stubby, solid, that's about how much plastic these prints are.
Okay.
They're either usually as high or, you halve it and they're as wide.
Yeah.
Same volume.
Yeah.
And most of those prints at the detail you would want to print them to take a day at least.
I remember you
20 plus hours
printing some things for me, and you're like, "This sucker's 12 hours," and I'm like, "It's nothing. Like it's a little crater."
It was literally a crater. So if you can imagine the Games Workshop craters, they're very similar.
Yeah,
they've just got a bit more texture to them.
Yeah, it's like the size of like a DVD, maybe a little bit bigger.
Yeah,
and like maybe like an inch high.
Yeah,
and it's like that's 12 hours.
That's a 12 hour.
Yeah.
And you want 10 of them.
Yeah.
I'm working on them, dude. They're on my backlog. Don't worry. And some of them are doubles. So
true. So that's 24 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it adds up. The time on those filament printers. And the detail would be another one that's a con, I guess, on filament printers.
Lower detail than resin. Yeah.
Lower than resin.
Yep.
I guess when we do most of these pros cons, they'll be in contrast to the other printer.
I think so, because both printers exactly that. They have exactly contrasting pros and cons, because a resin printer, obviously you're getting better detail.
Yeah.
But you've got like more of a cleanup. You've got more of a learning curve.
Yeah.
You've got to, not only do you have this resin, there's this liquid, this like sloppy liquid.
Yeah.
You have to cure that too under a UV light.
Correct. Cure and wash. Yep.
Yeah. So like it's not like a filament printer where you just get your scraping tool,
Yep.
scrape it off the bed,
Yep.
and then there you go, you're done.
Yeah.
It's like you take this thing out wearing gloves because this shit is horrible.
Yep.
Put it in a UV curer.
Yep.
And then clean it,
Yep.
wash it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. The good thing is the tech. We're at a really interesting point now where the technology for both is so much so that like resin used to be more expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
To get a resin printer, to buy the resin, which is still way more expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff. It was like, hey, if you wanted entry level, you go on Filament.
But we're talking technology that's only like not even 10 years old.
I know, and it's crazy.
Like things you can have 3D printers at home.
Yeah.
You can have both kinds for less than $500.
Yeah.
And like at home.
Yeah.
Like, it's like things like that should be, you'd still think it's like, wow, this shit should still be like in a warehouse in a machine that costs $50,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not like something that you can buy on Amazon and have it delivered the next day.
Yeah. And I don't think you really a lot of people don't appreciate that until they have it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah.
I think you go, oh yeah, 3D printing exists, but until you realize like how little the outlay was.
Yeah.
And yeah, you got that initial setup, but in the contrast of how long things take, like, do you want to paint a base coat on your Space Marine or set up a 3D printer?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So when you set it up and you got it going, or, in the case of a bloody resin printer that comes ready to go.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, okay, I pour the resin in.
Yeah.
I'm done. Sweet.
Yeah.
And like you get the results and then you print it and you're like, oh, wait, something that looks this good is something I can print as many times as I want unless I burn my house down. And
I didn't actually burn my house
down. I know we're here.
See the black mark on the roof there?
Oh, that makes sense. I thought you tried to... Oh, that's a mark. I thought that was soundproofing. Clever. Yeah. And then that's when you start to appreciate it because like the outlay for it was low, but you didn't think it would print what you hoped it would print, and then it does.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess the pros and cons, like at this point, money-wise, you used to be like, yeah, okay, I'll buy a filament because I've only got X.
Yeah.
But I really wish I had the extra $300 to buy a resin printer.
Yeah.
Now you're actually just choosing which type you want based on what kind of stuff you want to do.
Yeah. Like you look at filament and it's nowhere near the quality or the detail, I should say, as a resin printer at the moment. Who knows where it's going to go. But like a prime example, filament, good for terrain.
Yep.
Big things like that. Resin Miniatures. That's the way I look at it, and that's the first thing that comes to my mind. That's how I think about it.
You're absolutely right. We've actually got some resin minis that have been printed by the Goblins Forge here.
Yeah, yeah.
And as you can see, like these things are tiny. These are 28mm scale miniatures.
Yep.
And the detail on them is insane.
Yeah. Yep.
And these were printed. Well, I don't know. Lethal has a bunch of professional printers and
I swear one of his printers costs
domestic
like $3,000.
printers. Yeah, legit. But you can get the same result, or at least a very similar one, on just like the Anycubic Photon domestic printers.
And what's that, like a $500 printer, $600 printer?
Yeah, $600 printer.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. For the new one, the Anycubic Photon S.
Yeah, yeah.
But there are a heap of different brands that can do that kind of stuff, which is absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
And so the benefit is, like, although the material costs more, like printing, like a liter of resin is like $85.
Yeah, and a kilo of filament is, last time I checked, was like $50 maybe.
$30.
Okay, so it's gotten cheaper.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, and that's the crazy part. So, like, yes, the resin costs more.
Yeah,
and printing is usually quicker on a resin in general on a resin printer. It can heat up and handle those layers faster than an extruder can track around. Lasers and magic is faster than a moving mechanical head.
Yeah, and plastic spaghetti.
And plastic spaghetti.
Yeah.
It's just the way that it is. Primitive technology. So, but yes, the material costs more, but when you're printing those small detailed things, shoulder pads for our hobby homies Patreon minis.
Oh man, they're incredible. They've got rivets on them and
it's so tiny, man.
Yeah.
So tiny.
Yeah.
And those models that we showed before, the cost of the resin doesn't matter because, well, it does, obviously. Cost matters. But you're not printing large-scale things.
No, so that 1 liter will last a lot longer.
Yeah, and print you more high-detailed, smaller models.
Yeah.
But the cost of resin is almost solely the reason when you start to think about terrain and larger pieces.
Yeah.
You start to think maybe it's more cost-effective to sacrifice that detail.
Yeah.
And go FDM printing. Yeah. Filament printing.
Yeah.
Because you can get like a large-scale thing with notable layer lines.
Yeah.
You can physically see them.
That's up close though. Like most terrain is going to be in, an arm's reach away.
That's right.
And you're not going to see those layer lines.
So we've got an example of something I printed on just like my printer we've been talking about at home.
Yeah.
This thing took me 36 hours.
Wow.
But I think, and like it's pretty sweet in some of the details that the light catches. And like you might not even be able to see the layer lines on camera. It used to be, if you walked up to a table, you could tell if something was 3D printed.
Oh, yeah, you could be like, that's plastic, that's 3D printed.
Exactly. And when you say plastic, you mean like
GW plastic or like
mold-injected plastic, hard plastic kit.
Yeah.
Whereas this is 3D printed because you can usually see the layer lines.
Yeah, but with a bit of cleanup, you can, for the most part, you can get rid of most of those layer lines.
You can. And you can also use some primers that sort of fill in the gaps for you.
Yeah.
But with the stuff with the technology the way it is now, you would put this on a table and someone would look at it painted and whatever and be like, that's a sweet piece. It wouldn't be until they picked it up that they went, oh, this is 3D printed.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's kind of what you want for terrain.
Yeah.
So I guess that's sort of the payoff that you do. Now, I've printed minis at 35mm scale and up. Okay. And they look fine.
Yeah.
If you wanted to print a massive army for cheap.
Yeah.
And you didn't really care about the detail, and they were like almost placeholders for your story. Yeah. Then sure, you could do it on a filament printer. Yeah. It just wouldn't be worth it. Yeah. In my mind, if you want to print small detail, you're going resin. If you want to build larger pieces that they take longer, yes, they're less detailed. Yeah. But the cost, that thing that we showed before, although it took me 36 hours, it's a substantial piece. I reckon that cost me $7 in materials. Yeah. Yeah. That same piece with the same solidity in resin would cost $40. Yeah. Yeah. So it's insane. It's insane. Yeah. So that's the real reason you would ever choose to go filament over resin. Yeah. Yeah. Cost-wise, printing large pieces. Yeah. So that's where I think you can separate the two. Absolutely. I tried printing miniatures with my 3D printer. Yeah. I tried printing one miniature, and then the rest of everything else was terrain. Yeah. Like some things I tried printing like widgets, like little like control panels and stuff like that. Yeah. Like just for details, embellishments on buildings, stuff like that. Yeah. Some of them worked, some of them have finished the print, and I'm like, well, where is it? Yeah. It's just there's nothing here. Yeah. Like it's just like a smudge. Yeah. I'm like, okay, that didn't work. Yeah. But I tried printing one D&D like a wizard or something, right? It was just like the first thing I saw. Yeah. I was like, it came on a hex base already attached with feet, right? Yeah. And I'm like, okay, this thing is just whatever. Yeah. All of my prints were free off like Thingiverse or whatever that website is. Yeah. And I'm just like, I didn't pay for any STLs or nothing like that. Yeah. I just like went and got free stuff to print. Yeah. And for the most part, not bad. Yeah. Things came up all right. Obvious layer lines and stuff like that. And what's it called? Supports? Did you have to do supports? No, didn't print anything with supports. Okay. just raw dogged everything. Explains everything. Yeah, probably, yeah. Now we know why there was a fire. And spider webbing or stringing, whatever you want to call it. Sure. Things like that. But, like, I don't know. That was just me fucking around with something. I didn't spend the time to learn, what to do and how to use it properly. Yep. I just plug and played. Yeah. And, like, for what cost me $50, I definitely got my money's out of it. Yeah. If I had something like what you got, you know, like, I mean, when they were both new, they're almost at the same sort of price bracket. Yeah. Yours has obviously got better tech in it. Yeah. Because it's 5 years newer. Yeah. I feel like I'd be able to do a better job. Yeah. It's interesting because we've had two very different experiences. Yeah. But the real thing that separated them is that 5-year gap in tech. You bought a $400 printer. You just grabbed random files and just started printing non-stop. Yeah. I did the exact same thing. I'd say the difference is I bought files that were specifically designed by a professional to be printed and then later sold.
Of course, these are things that have like they've spent time on and that may even be a living for them.
Yeah.
So of course they've got to sell them and they've got to be at a quality where it's got to be worth the money you pay for them.
Yeah.
The things you get off online could be garbage.
Yeah.
Because someone's just like slapped it together themselves and put it up online, whatever.
For free, and they're just like, yeah, it's free, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But the difference, I think, is I ran mine non-stop, and I still have. Yeah. I think I ran it non-stop for the first 2 weeks, which for me was only like 3 prints. Yeah. Because of the stuff I was
36
printing.
hours right there.
Yeah, exactly. That's 2 days almost.
Yeah.
So, and I was doing the same, but the technology has just come that far. I've never had stringing. I've never had to scrape a thing off the plate.
Oh, what?
Once the plate cools, there's this very satisfying crack that happens.
Really?
Which is when the bottom of this print separates. So the plate is cooled, and I can hear this click. I can hear it from the other room. I hear this crack. And I go in, and if I touch it, it slides. Yeah. And I just pick it up off the plate, and it looks like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is why my 36 hours took so long, because it's like... It's like no detail there. Yeah. It's just flat. So when I say that I'm videoing things for people that are listening, they're like, what does it look like? What does it do? I'm pushing and it's just sliding off the plate.
If you want to see the video, go to the YouTube channel.
Yeah, go to the YouTube sub to our YouTube channel. Yeah. Give us a like.
Give us a thumb.
Give us a big old thumb.
Yeah.
We enjoy a good thumb. And so that speaks to the tech, I think. Like, I was doing the same thing. We were just full monkey braining it, going, me grab file, me print, me finish print.
But mine came with like a scraper. Like this thing's like used for taking paint off walls.
Mine had one too. I've just never used it. It's immaculate.
Because yours, you just wait for that audible little pop.
That little crack. I'm like, oh, time to start the next print. And I literally go out there and sometimes I'll start the print before this is even cooled because it takes a while for the extruder and stuff to heat up. Yeah. And then I'll just wait for it. And sometimes I don't get the crack, but I'm still able to just go give it the old shake it off a little bit. Yeah. And like I'm like, I better get this thing off because my thing's like lowering and my print's underneath it. Yeah. The nozzle's coming down ready to print the next job and I haven't even removed the last one. Yeah. Like, oh. Sorry, mate. No rest for the
You know what? It is satisfying that the noise that it makes while it's doing its job. Yeah. And like you hear everything whirring and fucking things going up and down. And
I feel like a factory.
And
I'm
like,
part of the mechanicum.
And it's just like going like ooh as it goes down, and you're like, it's cool.
Yeah, it's started.
Yeah.
And you have to watch that first layer. Because that first layer will tell you how that job's going to go.
Oh, yeah. Because it does that, like, the outside footprint, and then it comes in, and then it starts printing up. Yeah. Like, what's up with that?
I mean, that's a setting, so you can change that. But, I mean, play with the settings. So. But it is interesting because you can sort of, there's so many different, it's an art. Yeah. It really is an art. And I think all facets of this are an art. The actual printing, fine-tuning the settings based on the individual model.
It's a hobby in its own.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. And even the people that design these 3D prints, they're called the makers. Yep. Which is a cool name for anyone that makes a 3D design. Yeah, yep. It'd be interesting to see what even makers look like in 5 years. Yeah. Because the technology, as we've discussed between your experience and mine, goes from burning down your house and stringing to being able to sell prints off your domestic printer.
Yeah, waiting for that little pop and they're like, that's money.
Yeah. Oh, what was that? Oh, that's $5 I just made. What a 36 hours well spent. I mean, this is... You're losing money not having one, really.
My son's definitely going to fucking university.
As long as it's a free public college.
OpenUniversities.com.
Yeah. Open. Hey, he's doing an online course, that's for sure. If we can stretch the budget.
Speaking of 3D printing being a hobby.
Sure.
How do you think it has affected our hobby up to now?
So like wargaming and tabletop gaming?
Yeah, that's what we are. We're a wargaming and tabletop gaming podcast.
There you go. Sometimes I'm not sure.
No, we talk about a myriad of things.
Yeah. Yep. It has affected it positively. Yep. Only positively, because without it, I mean, you don't have it. So
that's not necessarily true.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I think it has made... I know for me, it's one of those things I'm one of those people that didn't really appreciate 3D printing until I had one.
Yeah, of course.
So to speak. Because I'd actually bought some 3D printed objects from a company. Yeah. And when I received it, I was like, well, this doesn't look very good at all. Yeah. Like I could see... In fact, I painted up all the terrain I got, but I've never used it. Yeah. Because I'm just like, I would have had to sand it down, or
Yeah.
they were obviously printing on large layer lines, or
To get that time up, I reckon, to get the speed of the print.
To do it commercially and make it commercially viable for them.
Yeah.
You know, I think that place was probably a brick and mortar store as well, to some degree.
Okay.
So, or at least they would have had their house filled with printers, and that's brick and mortar.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I got those, and I was like, I think I'd rather spend the extra money to do, you know, hard plastics, injected, molded, clean detail stuff.
Yeah.
And like, no one really sells resin terrain on a large scale because of the costs implicated with it.
Of course, yeah.
You would just go out and buy a professionally done hard plastic kit.
Yeah,
probably.
Or MDF kits or something like that.
MDF.
Yeah.
You know, for a fraction of the cost.
Yeah.
But now, you know, if the technology we have now was available 5 years ago, when I made those purchases, I would have got a product I was so much more pleased with.
Yeah.
And probably would have only bought that. So between MDF kits, which you bring up, and 3D printing now, I don't know if I'll ever buy a plastic kit of terrain ever again.
Okay. Yeah, right.
And the benefit is it's much easier to design STLs, the 3D printed files, for these filament printers than it is to design something that's compatible to be thrown into an injection mold.
Yeah, okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Because there's so many more things you have to design with that.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you can design almost a few different assets and then throw them together as an STL file.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you've got a wall, and this one has some bloody... you grab a wall, put some wires on it, TV screen. You've designed all this, obviously. It takes time.
Yeah.
But then you remove those details, you've still got that wall that you designed.
Yeah.
Now you can add something to that. There's a lot of more modification and stuff you can do.
Yeah.
So you can create larger ranges that you know work because you've tested them.
Yeah.
On filament printing anyways. And resin. So I think that ability to be able to modify works and build on stuff and build assets is really where those things shine over what the hobby has traditionally been.
Yeah.
It also opens it up for you and me to buy a $400 printer.
Yeah.
And within that year, print $1,000 worth of terrain.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think that aspect of it is pretty crazy. But the resin as well.
Yeah, resin for miniatures, like we showed earlier. Those miniatures printed there, perfect for a D&D session or a miniatures agnostic war game, something like War Surge or something like that.
Yeah,
where you can use any miniatures, 3D printed or not.
Yeah.
Like I actually painted that one in the middle there, the little hazmat suited dude, which took me. I mean, it's not a great paint job; it's just a rough paint job, but like. From a 3D printed model, which you look at and you go, oh yeah, that's cool. And then you prime it. Yeah. And you start getting paint on there. You start seeing more and more detail.
Yeah.
Like I think it's already opened up so much.
Yeah.
For our hobby, you know, like you're not limited to buying miniatures from, you know, the big dogs or any of these other companies.
Yeah.
You can print your own. You can buy miniatures from someone selling them online.
Yeah.
As a, you know, side hustle, or maybe that's their full-time gig now.
Yeah.
Maybe that's their second job or something like that because they're trying to pay for, you know, their kids to go to college.
Yeah. Keep bringing that up, dude. Yeah. And you raise an interesting point. Like, there's so much more options in the hobby because of 3D printing.
Yeah.
So, whereas before, if you were someone that wanted to design terrain and you wanted to, like, who would you sell that terrain to without 3D printers? You'd have to design files that could then be translated into molds.
Well, you see, even those molds, I feel like most of them are made from, like, physical models still. I think there's still a lot of that involved.
Yeah.
You know, like, hand modeling.
Yeah.
And then relaying that into...
Yeah.
Into those, into the actual physical molds.
Yeah. Yeah, so you'd have to either hand design something, or 3D design something that you can then break down, into a physical mold, and then you have to find a company willing to buy that design off you, to then buy a $200,000 mold ejected printer. You know, that would never happen. Whereas now, an indie who is familiar with 3D modeling software can tweak their designs to be able to be printed. And some people can knock these crazy models like this one that you've shown here in the middle that you've painted. They could build something like that in a few days.
Yeah.
Sit down for a few days, make that. in a few weeks make a full range of them like these are. You can go on the goblinsforge.com, by the way.
Yeah.
And check out these. Do you know what their name is in the Goblins Forge?
Hazmat something.
You'll find them.
Yeah, they're on like the second or third page if you go miniatures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can buy, how many, do you get like a pack of 10?
Oh, man, you get like 10 or 12 or something like that. And they're all armed with different weapons and everything like that. It's crazy. It's crazy.
And so because these people can make these, I'm not going to say easily. I don't want to undersell what they could do. But comparative to what's involved with producing and then finding someone to then print it.
Yeah.
You just now have to sell the STLs.
Yeah.
The actual files, people can print them at home if they want.
Yeah.
So more people are willing to they're like artists now. They are artists.
Yeah.
And instead of designing paintworks or photoshopped images and wallpapers and things like that they want to sell, you can now just do that for models.
Yeah.
So for us as the hobbyists, there's so much more stuff than there would have been without it.
Hell yeah.
So I think it's only positively impacted.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because it also forces the companies who were already doing this traditionally with injection molds to up their game a little bit.
I think so.
Which, is really tough for some of the smaller businesses.
As always, they're the small ones are the ones that are going to suffer, if anything, when new innovation comes. It's like everything. It's the underdogs and the small companies that are going to suffer.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want to take that away from those as well. I still find appreciation in hand sculpted miniatures.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, we'll look at some of the old metal Test of Honor ones, which were hand sculpted, the original molds, you know, and you think someone has created this out of some sort of modeling compound or clay or something like that, and sculpted these details as well. So I don't know. There's definitely an art in both. Yeah, the computer assisted design, CAD, and the physical side of things too. But you're right. In the general aspect, it's just nothing but positives.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the everyday person, for at-home printing.
Users. Yeah. And I think, like, to some degree, when you're talking about immersive tabletop gaming, the traditional style of either hard plastic kits or however they do their injection molds, those will always have a edge in detail to what the technology that we have currently. The question is, can you ever see what we have in front of us, resin printing and filament printing, ever getting to the detail that an injected mold could do?
That's good, because I don't know, because I feel like as the technology for 3D printers increases, surely that injection mold technology will increase too.
Yeah, exactly. As we've seen, I just got the Beast Snagger box, no flex, which is a new Games Workshop release that has new models in it, and man, I'm just blown away.
And as we know, Games Workshop are probably one of the leaders in miniatures.
They're the leader. They seem to somehow be 10 years in front of everyone else in terms of their detail on their kits.
Money.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it.
Yeah, but they are, and their stuff is incredible, and you look at that versus a 3D printed thing, and you can clearly see how much more detail is in that injection molded plastic. But you hold this 3D printed miniature, which you can now do from your house against an older kit or a kit from another company, and sometimes you're like much of a muchness, like the
same but different.
but different.
same but still same. Yeah, it is interesting. I can't fathom it either, because like you said, yes, as 3D printing takes 5 years forward, goes 5 years forward. In a seemingly 6 months. So does the traditional style that we've been talking about. So
there's a ceiling for everything, though. There's going to be a cap where this can only get as good as it is. And where are we there yet? I don't know. I think the guys 15 years ago would have been like holding this Space Marine where his bolt gun is held up against his chest. And there's two pieces to him. And he would have been like, this is as fucking good as it gets.
This is the gold standard.
And then
we're in the gold timeline here.
And then the next year something new comes out. There's always something new, but like I think it's going to slow down. The leaps and bounds in technology is going to slow down. Whereas like every year, sure, there's something new. But it might not be as much of a much betterer than the last year. It's going to get smaller and smaller to a point where every new release is only marginally better. If anything.
I agree, but I still think we're in the time where things can go nutty.
Yeah?
I still think we're in the time where things can get 300% better.
Really? Okay. So you look at your beast snaggers and you go, these are fucking insane.
Not them.
Okay.
I think they're the ceiling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the ceiling. I still feel like there's different types of tech we can do. Like I still think they can get rid of completely mold lines.
Yeah.
And flashing and things like that.
Yeah.
I wonder if they can get to the point where they can print these things so cleanly that they don't even need sprue. Like if you want mono.
Yeah.
I know companies can already print whole models and do for a lot of board games.
Yeah.
Or at least 2-part models. They're monopose. You got no customization.
Yeah.
But is that going to get to the point where they can make those kind of models so entry level that like, hey, that's your way in to this really expensive hobby. You sacrifice monopose, you've got this one model, it's got one clear maybe mold line around it, but even that to the detail of what we currently have would be insane. Would be a huge leap. So I wonder if like cost starts to level out, but yeah, as far as 3D printing, there's still a long way they need to go to get to my beast snaggers. But I think they can get there much quicker than we think. I just think when they do, I'm curious to see where that line of things, where the beast snaggers then go. So it's interesting. It's exciting too, because we're experiencing it already. Like, it's like video games, man. When I saw StarCraft, the first one come out, I was like, this has got to be the pinnacle of graphics, right? And then the first Far Cry game came out, and I was like, no, wait. Look at the water. Oh, that's insane. Now you play that game, you're like, this is dog shit.
What's this on, like Nintendo 64 or something like that?
And then you see a new Battlefield and you're like, no, wait, I couldn't fathom that games, you can't see it until it's there. So I'm interested to see what it does. I think it'll just get so commercial that the real art will be in customizing these models. Like, instead of just printing, hey, this is a cool thing, and here's another cool one. It'll be like, here's a cool torso that you can then do with cool 3D printed arms. And you can just go into a store. I wonder if we're spitballing. I wonder if Games Workshop one day, you'll go in there, and you'll go to their web store. And it'll be like, you're going to buy 10 Marines. Design them yourself.
Okay.
Pick your torso.
Like a mix of, what is it, Hero Forge? So you get to, that's a 3D printing website where they print it for you, or they give you the files?
Both. You can buy either.
Okay. So you get to pick the arm, the position, the torso, like whatever. And there's hundreds and probably thousands of different options. Do you reckon Games Workshop would do something like that?
I don't know if they would, but I wonder if the technology would get there that you could. You know, you go, hey, pick your torso, or another website similar to Hero Forge, but with better 3D printing technology, more options. Where it's like, hey, what chapter do you want? Here's 7,000 different logos you can pick from. Or you can import your own, which it'll generate into a 3D thing, slap on the shoulder pad for you. What kind of helmets do you want? What kind of... you've got a torso that you've picked, but now you can put on your bloody weathering. Or whatever you want. And then it can print those for you. And it's so cost effective that they can afford to do that. I wonder if it would ever get there. I don't know.
Who knows, dude?
Don't know.
Who knows? Time will tell.
Maybe when we get to Mars. Maybe when Bezos comes back.
So the future, I guess, is, as always, it's a guessing game. You know, it's imagination, it's educated guesses, speculation. But we're already seeing what 3D printing are doing now, and the fact that you can get those online for, I think the 10 dudes is like $30, something like that.
That's nuts.
Maybe not even.
Nutty.
And like, and they're as good as they are already.
And the good thing is that's so cost effective for everyone, right? If you don't want to go buy a resin printer, because you're like, I could print $600 worth of models to pay back the cost of the printer. Maybe I could print 1,000, but I'd never use all of them. And I'm not interested in reselling them and getting the licensing for it.
I don't have the time.
You know, it could be that as well.
I don't have the time to sit there especially with resin. You know, and clean it and do all that sort of stuff. Like, I'd rather just buy the models that I want. With the bases that I want, or textured done. You know, online.
Exactly. So you might benefit from going to
get some chump to do it for me.
Getting some chump. Like Lethal from Goblins Forge.
Or you, for that pod.
Oh, yeah. You were talking about me. I was going to say, Lethal's not a chump.
Exactly.
So there is still... And that's great for everyone, right? Because then you get your prints at a better cost. They make money. So then they can keep working on fine-tuning their craft, getting more options and stuff. You're supporting them. They're supporting you.
Yeah.
It's a symbiotic relationship. It's better for everyone. So really, you raise an interesting point. I would think if you wanted to determine, should I get a 3D printer? Yeah, you can do all this cool stuff that we've mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say they have far more pros than cons.
Yep.
But it really is about whether you have the time.
The time and the effort, I think, is a big thing as well. Because, like, you got to be prepared that there's a hobby inside of this hobby.
Totally.
You know, you're not getting this thing to help you with your wargaming.
Yeah.
Though that it will. That's one side aspect of it.
Yeah.
You got to be prepared that this thing is going to take you time. You know, you're going to have to build it to start with.
Yeah.
Not just, well, I mean, unless it's a resin one, you take it out of the box, but build this thing, calibrate it.
Yeah.
I don't know how often you want to calibrate it. I calibrated mine once. That's probably why it caught fire.
Yeah, it makes sense. All of this is coming together now. Yeah.
And then deal with the failed prints.
Yeah.
You might have printed something for 12 hours and then you go in the garage or wherever you got it and you're looking at it and it just looks like a bird nest because it's fucked up somehow and now the spaghetti's everywhere.
Yeah.
You know? And you're
one tiny little millimeter off for whatever reason. Slight little tremor in the ground or a truck drove past and you can have all those issues. So it's not just, it'll never be just plug, play, print.
Well, I mean,
mine was for the first week.
Yeah.
But then I got a print that failed and what are you going to do? You either find out what happened or you risk printing again.
Yeah.
4 hours in, you're 36, or the worst, 30 hours into your 36-hour print, it stuffs up, or you run out of print, or you run out of filament, or whatever. So
and you can't just put more in and go resume.
Yeah, exactly.
This thing already thinks it's finished.
Yeah, because it's been ghost printing.
It's like, did I do a good job? And you're like, no.
You did great. I heard you were the goodest printer. So that's our nonsensical ramblings about 3D printing.
Yeah, some personal experience, some speculation.
Yeah, yep. Some anecdotal and some hopeful.
Yeah.
And overall just an excited mess of beer chatter about beautiful prints.
Yeah.
Which you can buy at the Goblins Forge.
You can.
Full disclosure, any terrain you buy off there is my terrain. I should let you know.
Yeah.
It's not we genuinely were advertising for Lethal at the Goblin Forge and all the resin prints there because we love Lethal and we love these prints.
Hell yeah.
And it's such an underrated company.
Yeah.
That we think more people, like all the homies in the Discord, buy through him and get their prints done through him. So buy that stuff. I don't really care if you buy this stuff. I love printing it. So if you want to buy terrain from there, sweet. That's money to me that I put into the podcast. So everyone wins.
You win.
Except for Lethal.
Oh, yeah, he really gets stick, doesn't he?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
He wins.
So there's so much more to 3D printing that we don't know, that we haven't even, brushed upon.
Yeah.
That's a messy crash course, I guess.
Not even.
I don't even
know. Yeah, crash.
What was that?
We did crash.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone says, especially Churchy.
Especially Churchy. Yeah. So do with that as you will. If this was like, you're like, okay, I'm going to get a 3D printer, but first I want to see what the homies have to say. And after that, you're like, I'm not getting a 3D printer, then good for you.
Good for you. Well, we've had two different experiences. I love my 3D printer. I froth it. I enjoy it a great deal. There's been frustrating times that have made me just turn it off for 3 days and then not want to go back to it.
Yep.
But then I look over there and I'm like, you've been too quiet for too long. I want to hear that hum again.
Yeah.
And so I'll print something else. And the crazy, man, the absolute crazy STLs that people are designing.
Yeah.
That can be printed on these printers. You get excited. You're like, wait, I can buy that $5.
Yep.
And print that as many times as I want.
Yep.
Put it on my table, paint it up. It looks immaculate. So that part excites me. I love it. Would I rate anyone to get it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I would certainly go back to my previous self and say, get one 5 years sooner.
Yeah.
Because you love this, but you don't really know. Like you said, it's a hobby.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't know until you do it. And that's tough for 3D printing because the outlay is so high initially.
See, I was lucky to get mine off a mate for next to nothing.
Yeah.
And like, I would have regretted buying that if I had have bought it new myself.
Totally.
Because it just wasn't my jam.
Yeah.
I didn't have the time and the effort to sit there and fuck with it. Like, I mean, I did enjoy it to start with.
Yeah.
But I got over it pretty quickly.
Sure. A lot of people do.
Yeah.
It happens so much where people are like, yeah, I bought a 3D printer. I printed stuff for like a good month.
Yeah.
Haven't turned it on since.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're on the fence, you don't really know. Look, see if you can hit up one of those people.
Yeah.
And borrow it for a month. You're like, you're not using it.
Yeah.
Can I borrow it? Have a play? If not, see if you can, get it for 50% retail.
Yeah.
Find a price that you're like, for $100, $200, I'll have a play around.
Yeah.
Or buy it. You can just literally get a brand new printer for $150.
Yeah.
That'll still do the job. Maybe the detail will dip, but you'll get an idea on whether or not.
Yeah.
That's what you want to do.
That's right. And if you enjoyed the process of printing whatever you're printing, it doesn't necessarily have to be wargaming stuff. It can be, I've seen people print like brackets for shelves, or like I watched a video and this guy had a fridge and something inside broke, and he's like printed a fucking hinge for the door. And I'm just like,
I saw a dude print bird nests, layer it with some stuff and put like 4 mini trees, and like they were filled by 6 months.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I was like, that's just cool random shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, is it for you? We don't know.
Just,
find out.
Just do it.
Find out. Just do it or don't.
Do it or don't. Fuck. That's it. Yeah. Well, that's pretty much 3D printing in a nutshell from us.
Yeah. Basically, you're a comprehensive masterclass to 3D printing.
Yep.
We got some other stuff happening.
We have got heaps happening. So what's this chilling on the shelf behind us, dude?
Oh, this is the monthly giveaway. I don't know if I can put this. This is going to require some work. But we got a monthly giveaway.
Yep.
And what do you have to do for this one? Like our Facebook page.
Yep. Like the post.
Like the post, which is on our Facebook page and pinned.
Yep.
And then tag one of your homies.
So if you already liked the page, you don't have to unlike it and re-like it again.
No. That's good for our ego, but I wouldn't waste it.
Yeah.
We just check to see that you have liked the page, the post, and tagged a homie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you've done all those, you go into the chance to win one of these. This box of Ashigaru Scouts. These are metal models. These are immaculate.
They are.
These are not 3D printed.
No.
These are incredible. These are from Grafenau Games, who... the game itself is phenomenal as well.
It is.
We covered it on the podcast.
Yeah. We've got the Journey Into series on that one. Our first Journey Into series.
Exactly.
Which is slowly coming to an end.
It is. We've probably only got one more episode in it.
Yeah. We're keen to hit, though.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So keen.
Yep.
So if you're looking at this and thinking about, those are sweet models, you can actually use those in a game. Probably 2 games that we cover.
Yep.
You can use them in War Surge.
Yes.
Which is our newest Journey Into.
Yep.
And you can use it in the game it was designed for, Test of Honor.
Yeah.
So we've got episodes on both of those, so check that out.
Yep.
But that's a dope giveaway, one I'm excited to give away, because that means someone has to paint it, post pictures of it in our Discord, hopefully.
Yep.
And then I can drool over it, which is amazing.
Of course. We've also got our seasonal painting competition. We're in winter now, coming to an end. We're getting, I think it's the end of this month, dude. End of August is the deadline.
So you got 4 weeks left if you're listening to this episode.
Probably 3.
Probably 3.
Yeah.
By the time this one's out.
Yep.
Yeah, true. 3 weeks left. It's just one model.
Yep.
You've just got to use mostly blues, whites, or greys.
Yep.
And that's it. Any scale from any game.
Yeah.
One model. And then even just entering gives you the chance to win.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Because our prizes are, for first, you get a box set of Underworlds.
Yeah. Underworlds Diachasm, the newest one.
Yep. Second place is a $50 voucher from Guff.
Yep.
And third place is a randomly drawn from all of the entrants.
Yep.
A $50 voucher from Throw the Dice.
Yeah, yep. Which both can be used online, those vouchers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And even, you can hit both of them up and they can order in a lot of stock.
Yeah.
So there's more than just what they have on their stores.
Yep.
So go check them out anyways, because they're our locals.
Yep.
We like supporting our locals. And we have a painting challenge.
We do. So this would be a week into that painting challenge by the time this comes out.
Correct. So you can't do it, but it is something we hope to do more of.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this and you are in the painting challenge,
keep going.
Keep going. Use this as an opportunity to catch up on your other painting competitions.
Yep.
Be it the winter one or any others that you're in.
Yep.
This is a good opportunity to double down.
Double down.
You get a chance to win some dope brushes.
Yep.
From this one, whilst also entering in your regular competitions.
Hell yeah. So, heaps of stuff happening, as always. Check out hobbyhomies.com for all that sort of stuff, links to everything else.
Yeah.
But a massive thank you to our patrons who help us do this, keep the lamp going.
Yeah, without you guys, this is just, I'll buy this lamp regardless. This lamp's amazing.
Yeah.
But we'd have to turn the light off to save on electricity. So the light in this lamp and the light in our hearts is all because of you.
Yeah. So thank you, Burnsy, Whack, Final, Foggy Highway, Joey P, Lockie, MJ, Lethal, Moose, Penny.
Thought you were getting emotional here.
Oh, no, I nearly coughed.
We've got Elko, Arkham, Caitlin, Dave, Churchy, Oliver, Hockers, Tricky, Aggro, and Gridlock. Thank you all so much. Again, from the bottom of our hearts, you're amazing. We couldn't do any of this without you, and we wouldn't do any of this without you.
Absolutely not.
We'd cry in a hole, 3D print, trying to make $5 a print. And
burn our hairs down.
One of us would. One of us would. So, as always, I've been Fox.
I've been Shane.
Pew pew.
Pucka pucka.